Hello, guys. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Biztainment Podcast. My name is Mustafe Artan. I'm your host, and today I have two amazing friends who are also the top of their craft, really experts at what they do. And we're gonna talk about the from the angle of actually turning your passion into profits. Right? Can you make money from it? Can you turn it into a business? It is even possible because a lot of people are actually chasing their passion and not just broke, not actually going anywhere, and then they give up and they do something else. And these two guests today, the one to my left here is Duran Ali and then Jamal Hashi over there. They are really good at what they do. They actually turn their passion into something they really love and also make money from it. Right. So today they're gonna introduce themselves a little bit about what they do. And the first guest here is Duran Ali. Go ahead, Duran. Introduce yourself a little bit. What do you do?
Thanks, Mustafa, for inviting me today. I watched your other podcasts, mashallah. They're amazing. I learned a lot from them. So for me, my name is Duran Ali. I am a software engineer, an IT person, and also I'm an educator. I teach programming and coding in the Somali language. I post on YouTube, and also I share my knowledge with students all around the world, about 40 to 35,000 students around the world, and just teaching my passion and what I like, which is software engineering, programming, coding. And also, I am a business owner. I have my own agency in Minneapolis. And also, I have a software business that I started back in 2017, where the software helps businesses and small schools. So that's what I do. And my passion started when I was young with my brother. And Alhamdulillah, it went on all the way to high school, to college. And then just kind of like it became my thing. People know me as the IT guy.
Amazing, amazing. Oh, we're gonna go into deep a little bit about how you actually started. Now we have also Jamal Hashi. Jamal Hashi, I've known for a long time. I know him for over 20 years now.
Or 20
Over 20 years. I mean, we went to rival high schools. He went to Roosevelt High School, and I went to Edison High School.
Oh, yes,
But
we did, actually.
yeah, I went
That is
to
true.
yeah, and then so I know him for a while, and I've been following his journey all the way through. So today we're gonna go a little deeper about his journey too. So go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell what are you up to.
Thanks for the introduction. That was great. Thanks for having me, Mustafa. Excited to be here on Biz Entertainment today. To be able to come and have a great conversation with you. We always see each other out there, but we just never get the time to sit down. So I'm glad that this is happening. I've known him so long that I feel like, that we went to the same high school almost.
Yeah,
To
that's
be
true.
honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. You have the same friends, same circle.
Same circle, you know what I mean? And great to witness your growth and your success over the years. I'm very much proud of you. I'm, excited to be here. My background is I'm in the culinary field. A lot of people know me as Chef Jamal. And today, some of my work includes building food management systems, compliances. I'm a nutritionist as well. I do culinary education. I'm just, really lucky to be in this field of mine for a really long time, and now I'm able to give back. So I do consulting as well. I help people who are starting up restaurants, struggling to come up with new menus or so on. They need revamping, so I do that, complete restaurant turnarounds as well. And my company is called Joyous Consulting.
Amazing, amazing.
Absolutely.
No, we're gonna go a little deeper in that later on. But for now, Duran, um, I know in one of your videos, your YouTube videos, you were talking about how you actually got into IT. Did you study IT, or did you actually were you self-taught?
So when it comes to IT, Alhamdulillah, my brother, may Allah have mercy on him, he passed away. He inspired me back in home, back in Somalia, before I came to the United States. I didn't know anything about technology, but back in the day when people were using typer and things like that, he was the one that was using typer and in a small city in Somalia, and it's like nobody knows what he's doing. So he inspired me, and when I came to United States, that's what I kind of liked doing. So I started messing around with computers and stuff. So most of it I taught myself, but alhamdulillah, I went to school, and then I kind of dropped out from college because I realized the things they're teaching is something that I kind of know. And then I started going to a coding boot camp to kind of get more education and basically kind of like solidify my software engineering skills. After graduating the coding bootcamp, I started looking for a job, and alhamdulillah, I got a job. I actually got an interview with Google, but that's another story. It's a long,
Yeah, I was following your Facebook
yeah, it's
post
a
about
long
that.
story. In the COVID time, but yeah, alhamdulillah, I worked as a software engineer for a while, and then I stopped doing it because I realized like entrepreneurship is my calling basically. And I wanted that flexibility because when you have a family, and alhamdulillah, I have 3 kids. One of them is autistic. We call him Mangar now, in the Somali language.
Unique mind. Is that what it means?
Unique mind. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
Mangar means unique mind.
Good way to say that.
So my daughter, alhamdulillah, she's autistic. So as a father, you kind of like you need that flexibility, you need that time. So I realized like entrepreneurship is my calling, and it's something that I love doing, and building my own softwares, my own businesses, and then also teaching. Like that's also kind of like giving back to people, to kids back home, to anyone who wants to learn programming. I teach for free online on my YouTube and on the website somaliprogrammers.com. So yeah, so basically it started as a thing that my brother inspired me, and then it ended as like something that I pursue as like professional career.
And then you liked it, and then you
And then I liked it, and then the skills I learned helped me basically start my business. When I was in high school, I started building websites, for free basically, and just kind of like doing it for fun. And then I was doing it all the way to college, and then I realized I could charge people for that. And then alhamdulillah, after college, I left college. I started agency, a web design agency, and then I'm still doing that right now. And then
Is that the Sahel solution?
Sahel Solutions, yep, Sahel Solutions.
Rebranding.
I did rebranding. It's called Taya Pro now. Taya Pro.
Okay.
Taya Pro is Sahel Solutions. So it's a digital agency. So we don't do only websites. We do apps. We do things like graphic design work, marketing, things like that. So alhamdulillah, so I kept doing that, and I started a software company. It's called Alif Cloud. Basically, it's a software for Islamic schools, and that started 2017. And I realized there was a need, and alhamdulillah, we have a suite of softwares now that other organizations use, nonprofits, small businesses, and that's kind of my thing right now, where I pursue on find a solution for small businesses and for people. So it's just it's not like a traditional path.
Right.
So I didn't go to 4-year school. I just went to community college, and then kind of realized like I can actually teach myself this stuff.
So you build your own path, kind of way.
Yeah. So kind of like I realized I know this is stuff, so I don't need to go 4-year school to spend that time. But if other people are watching, I think it's best if you're not sure what you want to do, or you're not sure like your passion, is always good to go to school. You'll realize what you want to do.
You can find yourself.
You can
Once
find
get
yourself.
class in
Yep.
there,
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
More the route I went to. Yeah. Now let's talk about Jamal. Jamal is a unicorn. I mean, Jamal is not like the rest of us, like the average people who actually went to school for years, try to find themselves. I knew Jamal since high school. And he was one of the few people that I knew who knew from the get-go. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. I mean, he loved food. He was a chef. He's a chef actually, and he and his brother, I think back in the days when we were in high school, he owned a restaurant called Safari Restaurant.
Wow.
Right, it was one of the coolest restaurants when you were growing up. And he was same age as us, and I was like, how did he do that? I mean, I didn't even know what to study in college. Right at that point, I was confused. I don't even know if I need to go to college. We were all confused, and he knew exactly what he wanted. He was also traveling around the world. He was traveling to I think he would travel to New York one time, study with another chef. He was doing a lot of good stuff. Talk about it, Jamal. You were one of the really lucky ones, right? Who knew exactly what they wanted from the young age. Talk about that, your experience, for example.
Absolutely. I mean, my first job actually was, I've had several jobs before I landed into the food industry. So my work life started when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I lived in Virginia. I used to do paper routes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
on your bike.
On my bike. Yeah. So I would get up early in the morning, before school. I'd have to go to 5 in the morning to show up to the 7-Eleven. That's where I pick up my papers, and then I have to pass around these papers before 6:30, and then be at the bus by 7.
Right.
And like work has been, and that was like something that was like early on. But I got into the food industry like when I was 16. My first job was working at an Italian restaurant.
As a waiter.
Not as a waiter, actually. I worked in the kitchen. So they hired me as they call it pit boy. Pit boy is basically the dishwasher.
Okay.
So you
It's a
get
glorified dishwasher. The
oh
name.
my goodness, yes. Basically, it's it's a hell. And if if you're young, you're trying to get into the kitchen, starting somewhere, they always start you off from the. I was like, all right, I'll eat for free here. I love the culture, I love the food, so I did that for about a year and so on. And then afterwards, I got promoted to become like a chef helper. So I can't become a sous chef professionally, but I can become a chef helper. You know, getting the pastas ready, bagging the pasta, portioning, and etc. Finishing the dishes, etc. And garnishing. So I think before I went into my family restaurant, my family owned a restaurant in downtown. It was just a cab stop.
It was not a fun
It
restaurant
was
back then.
not. It wasn't. No, it was just. It was called Safari at the time.
Oh, okay.
This is before we had any of the 763, 612s, 952s.
Yeah.
There was only 7-digit number.
I remember that back then.
you know?
Yeah.
And this restaurant particularly, it was a Scabula stop. Hello, the cabbies or whatnot would come over and grab
To go.
all takeouts.
Oh, that's why.
There was
yeah.
no menus. There was none of that stuff that was happening. You come in, what is there? You have this, you have that. All right, give me this. That was that. And so I came in, and my brother had like-minded and whatnot, and I saved up about $15,000 to become a partner.
And you were already you were in high school that
I
time?
was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was in high
It's
school.
a lot of money for high school.
Yeah, for high school kids.
Yeah.
And my mom helped me. So I that's how I got into the food industry and like became a restaurateur. So right away I knew that okay, what I've learned in the other places, there's got to be some sort of a system here, some organizing. But then I do not know how to make Somali food. So I'm like, all right, I gotta So then I went to college. I went to school. I went to they had a culinary program at MCTC.
Okay.
I did that for about a year and a half until like my family got a window of it, and my uncle came and said, "We're putting a stop to that shit."
I know what you mean. Yeah.
He's like, "We're not gonna have you become a chef." What?
What are you doing with that?
What are you
Yeah.
doing with that? Like you come from a family of this. Your uncle was this. Your dad is this, and you decided to go into shit. No, this is absolutely not. You got to go get your business administration. Then and this was the whole family sitting me down. Like it was a
Intervention.
intervention.
Wow.
Get him, save
Yeah.
him from this kitchen. What is he thinking? So the family won, and I got my business administration, and then right after I got my culinary degree as well.
So you never gave up on that
I
one.
never gave up on it.
Right.
It worked out best because there was eventually when I got into the business industry, just both served me really well. And like the culinary world, I learned how to like the food systems, how to come up with recipes, create, and that's what helped me create the first Somali
Right.
menu. And this was
2004?
2001.
One. Okay. Wow.
Right? So 2001, I created the first Somali menu, having it was like the first one that was written, right? And I guess in the West.
Yeah.
So having
Yeah.
KK this, chicken fancy, and just making all this fancy.
No, it was also the coolest restaurant, right? Where
Yeah,
you
it
can
was
come, and hang out with your friends.
Bro,
The
and like that took a lot.
ambience was nice. Everything was beautiful.
And, like because you're learning from others,
Yeah.
you come into the industry. It's like you gotta, and people wanted that.
Right.
So as soon as we made that transition, and then it just became we got right up.
For some reason, we still crave that here in Minneapolis. We still don't have a place. I had friends come from Europe for the other day,
Yeah.
and they're asking me, "Can you take us to a nice restaurant, Somali restaurant?"
Yeah.
And I couldn't really find really good one. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
place where it's really nice ambience. There are a lot of restaurants in there, but none of them is really like nice and
they're
welcoming.
mostly
You know what I mean?
traditional. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's a project for you. I don't know.
Man, I've alhamdulillah, I've had the opportunity to build like 13 restaurants. It's not something I'm excited about right now.
Yeah. It is. It is big.
But I help others. You know what I mean? But it's I found that I still love creating. I love opening up a new restaurant. And then seeing it from an idea to flourish into becoming something realistic to something that people can touch and tangible and taste.
Right.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's like that. It's like it brings me a lot of gratitude for sure. But right now, like the work I do now is I oversee large projects. So that doesn't allow me to go open a regular, a restaurant anymore.
Day to day.
Where you have to work for like 12 hours. Yeah.
And I've done
Right.
that. I love it. To be honest with you, I got it to a science where it's like it makes every sense. And I never did it for the money. Like later in my life, I did it because I loved having people over. It's like I have people over all the time. In my
Food
living
is one thing that brings people together, right?
room. For sure.
Yeah.
Food, ambiance, the service, and so on. But yeah, it's still going.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So the next point is actually you mentioned a little bit. You said the family actually had an intervention with you. The family, we remember we're immigrants, right? And myself, when I was getting started, I actually looked at things, the careers that actually pay me the most. I look at this, for example, I loved finance and I love other stuff. But then I looked at IT. I was like, you know what, that pays actually the most.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm gonna go that route because we never had really passion, something we really love. But then you were very lucky. You said you actually knew what you wanted, and then you had to kind of, I think you got to give up a little bit to make the family happy.
Yeah.
And same thing with Duran. I think you did the same thing. You try to find something that you love, and you try to actually have passion, go after that, right?
For sure.
So
Yeah.
talk about the family dynamics, right? Because the pressure is not only
Yeah.
starting a business or learning something that you love, but the family actually put a lot of pressure on you, right?
Yeah, I mean it's all about like responsibilities. When you come here, especially when you're like the first person or the second person for the family, and most of your families in Africa, it's there's expectation of you becoming like this businessman, this rich guy that everyone depends on. So in college, you're kind of figuring out yourself. You're kind of like figuring out what to do. But at the end of the day, you still have to work. I was in college. I was working. I was doing like odd jobs. You do security. You do like basically I worked at Hawalat. The money transfer place.
Right.
You work at shops. You work at different things. You do different odd jobs while you're kind of like figuring out things. So for me, alhamdulillah, my family, my mom is here and my sister. So the rest of my family back home.
So you have little help a little bit here.
Yeah, so my sister, alhamdulillah, was the one that was taking the most of the family stuff while I was figuring it out myself. But, eventually your family just calls you and they're like, okay, what are you learning? What did you learn? So it's like there's kind of like expectation in general of you
And the
excelling.
responsibility.
So yeah, so you can't fail. And that's also another burden that a lot of people have is you're in America, that's where the land of dreams is.
Opportunities.
Opportunity, money growing in trees. They think that
Back
the
in Africa, right?
yeah, the ATM machine is like you just touch it and it gives you money. So there's an expectation like that, and it started back in the days, but now people are understanding it's not easy. Especially with the economy right now. People are realizing, it's tough. So, alhamdulillah, when I was learning all this stuff, my mom was, my biggest supporter. She never pressured me on anything. She never said, you have to go to school or you have to do this. For me, it was just internal pressure. Everyone is doing something.
Wanted something.
Yeah, everyone is doing something. You got to do something. You can't just sit around, play games, stay at home. And also, as someone who is immigrant, who came from Somalia, you have opportunity. There are guys that are similar as you. They don't have that opportunity. They stay back
They
home.
wish they had those.
They wish they had that. And that started when I was in high school. Right when I came to high school, and I started my whole United States from high school. Basically, ninth grader. That's when I came here. And
You were told right from the get-go. You knew
right from the
responsibility.
get-go, it's like you see kids who are started from kindergarten and they're kind of playing around.
Right.
And then you realize, hey, I'm not the same as them. I have to learn language, and then there's responsibilities, and there's all this stuff, and they're American kids, and you're like immigrant basically.
Right.
So yeah, that's how it started for me, and luckily, alhamdulillah, I didn't have a lot of pressure, but for me, it was just internal responsibility to do something for myself, but also something that I love doing.
Yeah. No, that's great. Jamal, same thing. Since we never had the privilege to kind of find ourselves, right? The other ethnicities, for example, we were thrown right into the big leagues when we came to the United States. I was working forever. I think I was maybe 6 months I didn't work when I came to the United States. I was working forever.
Absolutely.
Talk about that too. Talk about your passion. Talk about the family dynamics and how you overcame that actually.
For sure. I think,
And it's still going on.
this has an end, right?
Right.
So the family dynamics for sure is that we are, the way we move as a unit, right? So, and that's why your failure is not an option when you're like moving as a unit. It's like, no, you are a pillar in this family, and therefore your success means, therefore we are depending on your success. It's like there's no, and we all have that. Like all our families see us. It's like, okay, like this is, you have to succeed. There's no other option.
It's a lot of people depending on you, right?
Very,
Kind
very
of thing.
much, I have a lot of brothers as well that are older than me, and like, they also step into the position of, my dad. My dad passed away when I was young. So my brothers definitely had a lot of influence in making sure that, hey, like, that pressure that you're talking of, in addition to mine of figuring my own and also satisfying the family, it's like a little balance act there. And they've had so a lot of the decisions that I was making later on when I made into the food, it's just like each door kept opening more. So one of the things that I had to prove to my family was like, I meant what I said when I'm going to be the most successful.
So I'm gonna stick to it.
I'm going to be the most amazing chef you ever see. I'm going to do this like you've never seen. Now you're going to be in the kitchen. What are you talking about? You're going to be, And I said, you guys watch.
So they never understood the business part of things.
business
The,
aspects of
the
it.
vision you had.
They just assumed they had this vision, right? There was a guy that used to be a chef for us, like when we were young, he used to cook for them.
Right.
He would bring his name all the time,
So you're gonna be.
Oh,
So they
man.
thought you're gonna be something like
Yeah,
that because they never
and,
understood it's a
I'm
billion,
like,
$1 billion
he
industry.
was great to talk to. So what if I,
Right.
But they did everything in terms of to like help me navigate out of there and just become. They just didn't. Just like a lot of families, like immigrant families, there was no, like a restaurateur or a chef becoming successful. No, that's just like.
This was new to me too. I mean,
Yeah,
you were the only guy I knew that was. I mean, there are people who open restaurants every day,
Yes.
right? But that's not the same.
Yeah.
He actually was different. He was learning the craft itself,
Facts.
right? And then he learned the business side of things and how to run a business, how to run a restaurant, stuff like that. There was nobody before you.
Man, it's a. And
So it must be really hard for
There was
you.
like no path, right? For me, I had to forge my own path,
Right.
Creating. So I created the first African fast casual in America, like period, like in terms of there was no other person that came before me that said, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. And fast casual is like the grab and go.
Yeah.
And that takes. So it's like, all right, I have to create my own, figure out, go through this test and trials, go through, and then also, seek help from those that knew me, that knew a lot better than me. So that would be like, I had, people who would consult with me, like from the owner of Burrito Loco, with one of
Right.
the guys that would help me. Fire, something. What the heck was it called? This chain restaurant, like it's used to be in downtown. I forgot like the name of it, but something. The
Fireside or something.
Yeah.
I remember that place. I
And
remember the
then,
place.
So the GM of that, like I would
Yeah.
converse with him, and he like a lot of and I learned that people I was willing to help as long as you ask for. Like, hey man, I'm in this and I want to win. And they're all like, come on, I'll show you how to do this, And but I was serious about my craft and where I wanted to get to, and my family came around when they saw that, okay, this is like there's no way for me to go back from it, and then. The first thing was like when they first saw me on TV, like 2006. They was like, okay, this
Right.
is
What, Curry 11 or
okay,
somewhere,
okay,
some one of
11,
those.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
like, okay, this is something we were like, okay, we're proud of you. I see where you're going with it.
You made it.
You made it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, let's talk about the financial aspect of things, because when people actually
Yeah.
go into passion, profession, for example,
Facts.
like I know a lot of artists, right, who go into
Yeah.
acting and singing and stuff like that, and they endure a long time of like being broke, like have nothing. So the financial aspect alone is hard, right? I'm sure you can talk about the financial aspect of things. The beginning, first 10 years or first 5 years, the first few years when you're getting started. And then on top of that, the pressure of the family and then everything else piles up on it. And a lot of people just give up.
For sure.
But you guys both preserve. Talk about that.
No, definitely. For me, it's just, I didn't have a lot of expenses personally, but still you kind of have to like support family, you have to support yourself. So for me, it was, they call it famine and feast. So basically when you're doing a business, basically you get clients sometimes, like a month you get a lot of clients, the next month you don't get a lot of clients. Eventually you learn a way to like promote yourself and like you get a lot of clients and then you choose your clients, right? So at the beginning for me, it was just promoting my business, putting it out there, and kind of like advertising it. So so the famine and feast was always there. Luckily, I've been building like smaller stuff, smaller income. I've been subsidizing it with like jobs or
Right.
like
Freelancing,
part-time,
right?
freelancing,
Thing,
part-time jobs. So you kind of always have to like find a way to like get rid of the expenses, basically try to reduce expenses. But at the same time, also, you kind of have to keep scaling. You have to keep learning. Just like you said, you have to get mentorship. For me, what helped me the most was just learning. Basically, I went online, and I didn't have a lot of people, but I learned from people on YouTube. I bought courses, basically like how to scale my business. I already know what I was doing on terms of like working with clients and things like that.
So the craft side of things.
Yeah, so you know what you're doing, but like how do you take this and make it bigger? Like how do you go to the next level? And one thing I realized is like you can't keep doing the same thing with the same mentality.
Fact.
You're not gonna scale your business with the same mentality as you started. So for me, it was reading, buying books, basically watching people who already are in the industry, already excel. There's this YouTube channel called Future. The author is called Chris. He's amazing when it comes to like business. Basically,
He's a creative guy. I know.
you know him, yeah. So he recommended books. I bought the books that he recommended. You watch, and then you watch other people, and then books recommend other books too at the same time. So you kind of learn. Mostly, I learned from books and courses, and I didn't have people that were like around me that were doing the same thing.
Right.
And like I looked around and I saw the business that were doing the similar thing, the web design agency and all that stuff, but it's very competitive. So you can't just like you say, for you, luckily, you could go to them, but these people, when you go to them, they're like, no, they don't give you anything. So
they're not as welcoming.
Yeah, they're not as welcome. So you have to find the resources outside. So what I'm saying is like basically, if you're at a place where you cannot find the resource, you cannot find the mentorship in around you, then you have to lean on books
and like
courses,
and programs and external things. So luckily that will help me scale my business. Basically, I understood like systemizing things is really important. So I started systemizing my business and basically making sure like I don't spend a lot of time on like setting things up basically. So I use tools and softwares and procedures. So you kind of like automate a lot of things. So you have enough time. And now if you're, I'm father and alhamdulillah, so time is essential for me. Like, I don't have a lot of time. So you gotta like minimize the daily work, like the things you do day to day, repetitive stuff.
Yeah.
So what I do is sometimes I outsource my work to people, in Asia. Sometimes right now I'm kind of experimenting in Somalia. Some guys in Somalia are very talented, mashallah. So I'm experimenting. I started doing in Asia mostly. It was in India and Pakistan. They're ready to go. They have everything and it's cheaper. But now I'm like, you know what? I can also outsource to Somalia in Africa, Nigeria,
Kenya. I've seen
Kenya. Amazing people that know IT. So you have to kind of keep growing like that.
Very good, very good. Well, Jamal, talk about the early stages when you're getting started. Do you have to pick up other jobs on the side? I'm sure when you try to go into the passion.
For sure, I think that there's not really so if you focus so much on the blueprint, this is one thing that's really, really important. If you say I'm gonna focus on making sure that it's the perfect time for me to launch, I'm gonna aim for the perfect timing, I'm gonna get the perfect, I don't think that there's ever like a perfect timing, when to launch your business or like any this is a reference I use when in the beginning when I was getting started into the restaurant. It's like building an airline in the air while it's flying. I'm like, all right, damn, I got to put the wing on. Oh, chairs. Okay, first, we need the cockpit. We need a captain there. Okay, put a captain. The airline is still in the air.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then I got to put, okay.
You're building as you go.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but sometimes you just got to shoot, and then aim later. It's like fix those things as you. But I think that having early on, I think that was the fearless indadegnimo, what we call in Somali, of just doing it and then like fixing it along the way,
Learning along the way.
Learning along the way for
But
sure.
the first step is start.
First step,
and then you'll
for sure, and that's the hardest part, right? Because once you start, there's no stopping. It's like, all right, you gotta.
And a fear of failure too.
And a fear of failure for sure. And I have a lot of people that have, like their dreams have died because they were just waiting for the perfect timing. I don't think there's ever a perfect timing.
So when you were started then, and you were actually following your passion.
For sure. My own restaurant, when I didn't have any partner. The first restaurant that I did that I didn't have any partner, I was just turning 22, And even my family members were like, "This is, I was creating a fast casual joint," and they were like, "That's not gonna work." People like this. I swear to you, like even my brothers and whatnot. It's like, I believe in it. I'm gonna create it. I'm gonna do it, and I made it happen. And you know, the other thing is like, okay, so now that I opened, how do I get to the successful levels of like, restaurants that I've seen locally, with like Leon Chin's or all this other,
Those
they
big
have the
chains, yeah.
the chains that have
Yeah.
fast casuals,
Panda Express.
Panda Express or whatever
Yeah.
else, and then realizing that, oh man, this guy's do a whole MSG thing where they don't have a lot of waste. I have to do fresh food all the time because Somali food relies on that freshness, making the adjustment necessary. Go into conferences, fast casual conferences happening all around the states. Just learning from others who have done the system, and and then I come back with like motivated goals in sight, and come do it, and then go back to. So I think I was being able to go to those conferences, definitely helped sort of reignite, but one of the main things that I like to advise people is like, man, don't wait to shoot, just shoot and then fix it later.
And I tell people actually join join communities, right? Join like you guys go into conferences.
Yeah.
You see people like-minded. You see people who are you, because when you're starting a business, it's a very lonely business.
It is alone.
You are alone by yourself at night. You're working on things. People don't understand. People don't see your vision.
I mean, you have people telling you doubt, like creating doubts for you.
Absolutely. There's that. You doubting yourself later on. You're gonna be like, is this really right? Maybe
It is
they're right
hard.
at some point, right?
it's-
And I've seen, especially in the restaurant business, when I look at those statistics all the time,
Yeah.
like 80% of restaurants, 90?
96%.
96%.
So it's basically, you're more likely to fail if you go into the restaurant business for sure.
Right, like
Within the first 5 years.
exactly that's what I'm seeing. I've seen those statistics all the time.
Most of businesses, 90% of businesses
Yeah,
fail
get a
the
little
first 5 years.
Yeah.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I always freak out. I was like,
Yeah.
how people actually still in this day and age
Yeah.
open restaurants right now,
Yeah, for sure.
putting a lot of the life savings in there. It's
Into-
expensive.
So this is something, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
A lot of our community members go into this business blinded by like, because so when I'm opening a restaurant right now, like say, Nam Somali restaurants, right? And, the food is considered a lead loss item, meaning that it brings people in, but they're not looking to make money off of it,
Oh wow.
right? As long as
Okay.
it pays itself off and like flat out, it's fine. And that's usually what all the meals like. And then, but what is the main thing that they're making money off of then?
The add-ons.
Drinks.
Yeah,
Drinks are
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the things that upsell you.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
drinks are where the money is at. The food is just sort of to bring.
Just like McDonald's, so McDonald's doesn't make any money on the burgers
At all.
itself. But they say you want to drink the fries, you
Yeah.
want to have a drink, you want to
The
upsell.
upsell.
So, and also real estate. A lot of people do not know
Exactly.
McDonald's number one business there, and it's not food business.
They're in the real estate.
They're in the real estate business.
Right. So you're saying the margin is very low.
The margin is very low.
Mm-hmm.
And like what tends to happen is a lot of people go into restaurants thinking that they're going to be making hand over fist, and the reality is not. That's not the case. It's there's a lot of other science that goes into it.
Wow.
Aside from just cooking the food, there's like food costs that you have to sort of be mindful of. There's like a whole formula that you have to sort of and
And the hours you're going to spend in the beginning, right? In the
for sure.
beginning.
So the failure comes from not putting those hours in by the owner or the person that had the visionary, because however you built it, that's why you say like when Somali restaurants are brand new, you were like, a lot of people say to me that at least that they are the best. The food is like everything, and then after
The
that,
first
it
few
takes
weeks,
a dip.
yeah. You're right. Absolutely. They
Yeah.
probably they're going to outsource too fast.
Yeah.
That's true.
I've heard this many times, and that comes from lack of having food system in place. When you put when you're opening, especially like you put system in place, and you're as an owner or the person that owns that building, your job is to make sure that system sticks. So
Okay.
what does that mean? That means having your recipe books, having
Consistency.
consistency. When somebody calls sick, who's gonna be the first person that they
And
call?
I've seen that with big businesses, like with McDonald's. It's a 15-year-old leaves tomorrow, another one comes in, nothing changes.
Nothing changes. The system is there, so because they have a food system in place.
Exactly.
And then those, so a lot of us, it's like, and you go to these establishments. I go and consult right now. They send me to. It's like, unfortunately, there's no food system in place, and it's just, the state of Minnesota requires you to get food manager certifications, which is a certificate that you have to go through a whole book, take an exam, and then that certificate basically says this person knows how to keep the public safe, because you're selling
Number
food to the
one.
public, number
Yeah.
one.
Food safety. Yeah.
And that they have the rules and regulations how they're going to keep the public safe. They can prove it. They have books, So when they take this exam, they're like, yeah, I know all that stuff. But then it's the owner that's taking it, right? So he'll put that on there, and then that's the last time that guy sets food.
We'll
in
move
the
on.
house.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Then who's gonna
So,
follow it?
and then you go into the establishments, you see the chef wearing sandals, like, like what is going on here, like, coming in with the uniform they wore, like, from the bus or whatever else.
Right.
And it's like,
So they ignore all the things that
all the things.
the
So
owner
it's like,
actually took.
well, honestly, I can tell you that a lot of the restaurants, they're not making money. I know that for sure because just by walking in, I see it. I'm like, it's just they're barely making.
I mean, look at I just look. I think I know 5-6 restaurants that closed in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And they were close friends of mine. All of them closed.
Yeah,
I
because
can
there's
tell.
Yeah.
Because it's like you got rent due, you got labor due,
Exactly.
you got food costs due, and then the food is perishable. So perishables, they're not gonna stay for a very long time.
Yeah.
So these things are like
gonna go bad quickly.
They're gonna go bad quickly.
You gotta cook every day.
And you gotta cook every day.
Wow.
And it's like it's a whole system. It's like
So at this day and age, would you still recommend someone to really go after and start a restaurant business? Would you actually
I
do?
would say I would give like a 1-hour class for free.
So you would qualify them and try to
understand
understand them.
what you're going into.
Yeah.
Right.
I honestly, encourage people to do their due diligence. That means doing your homework, doing your legwork, and not just because you imagine it to be this fantasy of like it's going to be hand over fist because people are going to be giving me money. No,
Right. It's not.
there is like a whole another engine that's like moving before all of that stuff.
I think maybe it's a status thing. People want to be, restaurant owner kind of thing.
I mean that's too.
But same thing with in IT. I was in IT for a long time, for about 10 years, and people actually. So people will actually come up to you, right, and say, "Hey, I want to learn this kind of coding. I want to be in IT." And I tell them, "Do you have the grit? Are you gonna stick to it?
Yeah.
Like this is not something you learn overnight, or something that you're gonna learn for a month and then you're gonna give up. It's gonna get hard.
Yeah.
And unless you really stick to it, you're not gonna get far.
I mean, I've been teaching software engineering for the last like 3 years. I started 2021. I started when I finished my coding bootcamp. I was like, you know what? Like I started working. And then I realized, you know what, I can actually start a school, an online school, same idea as like I graduated from. So I had the skills and then kind of like figure out like how to teach and the methods and stuff. And the curriculum was kind of like similar idea of what I learned. So I kind of like thought about it. Okay, so what they taught me was basically, simple curriculum. So I started an online bootcamp.
How long was that? How long was that? Was the online bootcamp? 2 months?
It was 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
6 months.
Okay.
It's still going right now. So 2021 we started. We had many cohorts that finished.
And it's self-paced.
It's mostly self-paced.
Okay.
So I teach on one day on the week, and then right now we're kind of like I took a break from it. But so I teach one day, and then the students learn the other 6 days. So.
In a core or online.
Online cohort as a group.
Okay.
And then these students are all around the world. So some of them are in like Bangladesh, some are in like India, some are in like Somalia, some in Nairobi. But they get to know each other. So it's a smaller class. So now we're kind of like trying to make it as simpler for them to like communicate and stuff like that. So for me, basically, it's just teaching is I started teaching, and then I realized not everyone is ready to learn, basically. And they kind of like fell off. Basically, they withdraw from the class.
That's what I see too, yeah.
Most of the time is because of the expectation they had is not the same as what the day-to-day stuff, right?
So people see the glamour stuff.
Yeah, they see the glamour, the money. And on our website, we say, $70,000 a year. That's the average. That's the average, and that's kind of like most of boot camps.
They don't see the hard work behind it.
That's how they advertise it. Minimum $70,000 a year as a software engineer. That's what you're gonna start with. So,
one thing that I'm baffled about is I don't think there's a lot of people willing to suffer to be successful.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yep. They want the simple stuff, and I've seen it.
Easy.
They want the easy, and when things get hard at the beginning, it's simple because we start from the beginning from zero.
Stuff.
And also we kind of like we make sure the person is like someone who's fine with technology. Like we don't want to teach someone who's never touch a computer. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, you have to have
so they have to have like a basic starting point.
So you're pre-qualified.
They know computers. They've been trying to use computers. They've been trying to learn coding, but they never had a mentor or someone who helped them. So so we do also pre-qualify. Also give them like a pre-course. So I recorded a course, and they kind of like do it. But at the end of the day, when things get hard, you see that a lot of students drop off. We start with something like 50 students in a class, and then it ends 15 students. After 6 months.
Do you provide refunds and such shit, or is that like
so most of the classes we teach is free.
Oh wow!
So they're totally free. So
Yeah,
when
you started Gabe. It was the Gabe.
Gabi School, yep,
Gabe school. I remember that. And
Fascinating.
yeah.
at the
So
beginning, you were charging a little money, I think.
I was charging.
But how did it become free?
Yeah.
So here's how it became free. So I realized, like the people that were paying is like people who live in UK, Canada, US. People who are well off, like they can pay like a certain amount of money to learn a skill. And also the reason they learn is because they are in a place where they can get a job. So if you're in US, then when you learn software engineering, there's good possibility that if you try your best and you do your best, you could get a job, and it's gonna be really good. $70,000 a minimum. That's true.
Yeah.
Solid.
But there's a lot of steps before that, right? So you have to gain the skills, and then you have to like spend another maybe a year or so practicing, building things, right? So
real life
so
practice.
that's why we started charging at the beginning, and then we realized like a lot of times like people want refund because they don't try their best. So they want us to like feed the knowledge and feed everything instead of them trying their best. So we switched that from paid to free. But we pre-qualify the students. So most of these students are back home, back in Africa, in Somalia.
So you're giving back, sort of.
I'm kind of sort of giving back, yeah.
So you can,
And
so actually you can teach them.
Yeah.
And you teach them the skills, and then you can hire them later on.
they're already doing
Pretty
their
good.
That is very
I like that.
They already
That's a per diem.
Yeah.
they're already using the skills they learned in Gabi School to start their own businesses.
There you go.
Get out. That is amazing, man.
There's
That, I love that.
There's a guy called Abdurrazak. He lives in Bro. He started his own company, and he started building his own softwares, and now he works with tons of businesses in Bro, in Somalia. And recently he did an interview, and he was talking about his experience at our school. And he said, he didn't learn only like, he went to school for programming and like software engineering in Somalia. But he said, that's more like, they teach you more like 1980s
The theory.
computer.
And the theory stuff.
1980s computer.
DOS.
Yeah. So the professor is someone who learned like 1990s, and he's not following the new age stuff, the new things. So he said, at our school, Gabi School, he learned, I every day we do the course, but also we did basically like a business kind of like mentorship. I teach them the different tools, the different things to do. So at the beginning, I was very passionate, so I was spending a lot of time with them, and that turned out really good. But over time,
You just don't have the time.
yeah, you don't have the time. So
Yeah.
now,
You're passionate about it. That's very.
yeah, now my plan is to just spend like one day teaching them, and then the rest they teach themselves. So now, and then the students,
One day coaching call
yep,
kind of
and
thing.
then the students that graduated, the requirement is for them to come back and mentor these students.
Yeah, that's
So-
amazing.
So,
So Jamal,
yeah.
let me ask you this, and Duran too. Something I really seen with really high achievers, people who are really good at what they do, like you two, for example. You guys are constantly seeking to get better. You guys are constantly going to conferences and reading books and going different places. I was following Jamal's, I think, Instagram or Facebook, that I think you were in Japan the other day or somewhere else, and I was like, those people are just learning every single time. That's a difference usually I see between someone who actually starts something and then they give up, and people who are actually really good at that thing. Even though they're good, they still want to get better.
Absolutely.
Right? You take courses, you take classes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jamal. I see you go conferences. I see you always hustling more. Just talk about that. That's a drive that you guys have.
I think who said it best was like, I'm gonna quote a song from my good friend. And any man who knows not a thing, any man who knows a thing, knows that he knows not a thing at all. So
The more you know, the less actually you know.
like,
That's what they say.
Feel me? That's basically how that is. And I think, and one of my mentors used to say this word, which was, what is the biggest room in the world? He would ask me that, and I, just assume like, what are you talking about? The biggest room? Okay, what, like baseball room or like, or
Yeah.
field? Yeah, and he'd be like, no, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. To constantly always improve.
Say that again. That's a bar. People should keep. Say that again. The biggest room.
The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.
Amazing.
And Allah still. But one thing that sort of always remained in my mind is like, yeah, I'm never enough, and I realized that there's always a level to this. There's more for me to learn, and I can't say that I'm the best at what I'm doing right now,
Right.
at all. Can never. There's somebody way better than I am that knows this far better than. And I also hire consultants right now, even though I've been in the food industry for a very long time. I have 2 people who are consulting with me
To get better,
to get
to
better.
look from different angles so you don't
You
see.
get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I have one of the company I oversee right now. I'm a culinary director for a company, and we make food for about 15 schools,
Charter schools.
charter schools, yeah. And the number is like north of 8,000 kids, that we
Wow.
have to make daily food for. And then, in addition to that, weekends we provide food for all the Duksis,
Oh wow.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's not just providing food, but it's also being in compliance, making sure that you're doing what you say, and this menus that you are submitting also meets the guidelines and the nutrition, the calories, and etc.
Right.
And then
They eat twice a day at school.
Huh?
Is that twice a day school, like breakfast and
Breakfast and lunch.
and lunch?
Yeah.
Wow. And then you do weekends
And
too.
then I do weekends as well.
Wow.
Right. So there's like a
lot of work.
7-day gig, right? But I trust my team to do that. I have to build my team, train them the whole summer.
Right.
And then now weekends I can go do what I hang out with my kids. I trust my team and I see everything they're logging in. But I hire consultants to be able to improve some aspects of the flow of the system. So I have a flow system. It's like when I have food arriving to the place, where is it stored?
So you create a whole system.
Huh?
You create a whole system,
The whole
I guess.
system.
Okay.
Like where is it stored? And then the storage, is it being FIFO, which means the first in, first out? Is it like kuihara, like, you push the first ones out, you put this one's behind the other, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Being in mindset of that. Also rotating out, making sure that things that are about to expire takes off the shelf. Like putting these things in place and how it's cooked, who checks the temperature, how is it stored.
Nothing's missed.
Nothing is missing. So, and
Wow.
then the other plan that goes in there, it's like a HACCP. We call it hazard critical control points, right? So where every aspect of that food operation where things can go wrong.
Wow.
I have to think about it in advance and then have
A plan in
a plan
place.
for that. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Wow.
When things like that happen.
Because the
Right.
kids have to have food.
Kids have to happen. That's my ultimate goal.
They have
But
to
in order
have
for
a
me to
safe
make
food.
sure
They have to have safe food. Yeah.
safe food, healthy, delicious. Because the parents I'm dealing with later, I go to the schools. as well.
Right.
I gotta go deal with the parent. Like, hey man, what the heck? And the school nutrition, it is the most complicated thing ever
Really?
because these are laws that they write down, and they're like, these kids have to get certain amount of greens, certain amount of reds, certain amount of and this are referring to the vegetable groups and
Right.
fruits. You get what I'm saying? Certain amount, right? And then in addition to that, you can't give them the same menu within 21 days. It has to be something that they're eating. If 50% of the schools are not eating, then the food is like garbage. You got to deal
So
with
you
the
can't
parents.
repeat that one.
My goodness, man. It's so,
Wow.
it's
And then they have all this different allergies and stuff like
allergies and
that.
stuff like that. And I have to create a menu for those kids that have allergens.
Exactly. One of my
put
son
it
has allergy, for
But the
example.
most difficult part I learned is being able to train people to be able to serve this food as intended, the way it's supposed to be cooked. And you know what I mean? Because I hate micromanaging.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So I mean, you know what you know. You can take care of things, but imagine when you're not there, people
Mm-hmm.
freak out. Right? They're like, "Oh my god!"
And that's, I
know.
have to trust that. I have to trust
Right.
the team. I have to, like, some of the people that have been working with me have worked with me for a very long time. So
Oh.
I take with me, because they understand how I communicate and
Yeah.
And my team is as diverse as this country is.
Mm-hmm.
I have Asians working with me. I have Somali, Caucasians, African Americans, Hispanics, South America. It's
All
it's
kind of,
international
yeah.
for real. And then, so what that creates is like and a space and that's like everyone is accompanied.
Everybody's included.
It
Right.
doesn't create like because what I've seen other in my 20 some odd years is like whenever you have like one identity that it creates like a little like a clique,
Right, right. Like,
So there's no
people
click
turn
here.
into a little cult later on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have different teams, so I have the teams are always like they have
Yeah.
different backgrounds or whatever. So it definitely helps like accountability for sure because
Yeah.
everyone wants to shine the other. So
Yeah.
So Jamal, so one more thing I want to ask you is for those people who are the starving artists, people who actually do something they love but they're not making money from it. Or what advice would you give them, for example?
So creativity is one thing that I feel is very important, and I feel that it is essential for that person to realize, like, okay, like to stick to it first and foremost,
Right.
Because money is not always oh my God, I learned this like later in life too. Your passion has to be far greater than money in order for money to come. But when you chase money, it runs away.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Heard about that, yeah.
Yep.
So the one
So
thing
money
that
is
makes
a
it, exactly,
byproduct
for
of
real,
what you do.
byproduct. So you have to focus on 1 and 2, which is not other than your passion and how you're gonna execute this the best way possible that you know how, and then money piles up.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah,
come. It will follow you.
I also want to add. Yeah, I also definitely want to add to that. The starving artist. I'll say, what do you do? It shouldn't stay with you only. You should go out and connect with people. Networking is a big one. If you love something and you love doing, let's say you're doing like, for me, one of the things I really want to do in the future is maybe like art. So creating like arts, right?
Are you good at it? You like it?
I'm not good at it.
What's your passion? Do you wanna learn it?
It's something I did a digital
got it.
art,
Yeah.
but I want to do physical art too.
Wow.
So let's say example, you're doing art, and there's a lot of artists, mashallah, in the Somali community and a lot of people. People will not know your art unless you go out. Basically, you go to conferences, you go to events, and also these days online too.
So
But
you have to
yeah,
put yourself out there.
but you put yourself out there, right? So like whatever you're doing, the least you could do right now is just create, videos, create pictures, become a person who's like, people are following for story. They want to see your success. Maybe also they want to see your failure too.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's always great.
they want to see the arc, basically, like the story, basically.
Right.
But you shouldn't worry about what people think online. Just put yourself out there.
sure.
If you're shy showing your voice or your video, I would say just use storytelling and pictures and you
Some people
show
tell
your work.
Some people tell you they're kind of shy.
Yeah,
They,
yeah.
A lot of people tell me they're introverts. A lot of people tell me that they will not
Those
go
are
to
just
social
words,
media.
I think.
So you think those are excuses?
That's an excuse. I think that if you're not sharing your art and your craft, you're just basically being selfish. I want you to see it that way.
Yeah.
You have to share your craft. You have to show, like you're here for a reason. You know.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah.
You can't
What if-
just be
yeah.
in the background just dimming, your light and what you're supposed to share, and that's gonna eat you out more.
Yeah.
The fact that you didn't. I coulda. I wish I coulda. I wish I.
The
shoulda.
regret
Yeah.
you have later on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kills you.
Yeah, for sure. And that is some real shit. So I'd say shoot. Failing is like the greatest thing that can happen to success. It's like because you won't succeed unless you failed.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
And that's just they go together. They're in tandem.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say, what did they say? You have to start to be great.
Exactly.
Like you can't be great if you don't start, kind of
You
thing.
have to have. It's like
You gotta start.
Okay, you want to learn how to ride a bike? Oh, that's great. Get on this bike.
You can read all you like.
All you like. You can
Right.
methods or whatever else. But you gotta get on this bikes and get some knee scrapes, man.
Knee scrapes.
Knee scrapes.
They,
That's on the way. That's on the way.
Then you're gonna be cruising.
yeah. No,
That's
that's
what it
that's
is.
good. Yeah,
That-
that's his book called is it Ready, Fire, Aim, right?
I love
Wow.
that.
So you're ready, you fire, and then you aim it.
I love
right?
that.
Wow.
I love that.
And people think it's actually ready, aim, and then
Yeah.
fire.
Fire.
Right?
Yeah.
But you just have to start it. And then
And nobody's perfect. Like you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and people. And at the end of the day, like everyone is thinking about like what they can do. Like everybody's thinking about like I wish I could do this, or people are waiting to start at the perfect time. I've seen so many people that I mentored or I consulted that are like, you know what, I don't have this, I don't have that.
for years.
For
Yeah, for
years,
sure.
like
Next year, next-
podcasts. You started, right? You just started.
Beautiful, bro.
Luckily, you did your best to set up your studio. But when people, a lot of people come to me and they're like, I want to start a podcast, and I'm like, okay, just then start. And then I tell them like, just buy like a microphone. You don't even have to show your face.
You can do your own.
You could do just with a voice on the phone.
Right.
So I tell them. Some people come to me and they're like, I want to start YouTube. They see my YouTube, 40,000 subscribers, and they think like it's overnight, right? They think it's overnight.
You did it for years.
I did it. I started 2018.
Yeah.
Fully.
Gradual.
Yeah, gradually.
yeah.
I had like a plan of like every week at least maybe 2 videos, right?
For real.
So and also it's not something I make money from. It's just like something that I'm
Passion.
passionate about.
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't make money. A lot of people think like you think you're gonna make a lot of money from, especially if your audiences are from Africa.
Right.
That's something you realize.
Tell a lot of people.
It's like if people, the people that are watching you, if they're from Africa, you're not gonna make money
For real.
because
There's no commercials.
advertisers are
Commercials, advertising.
yeah, advertisers are not targeting Africa. They are targeting only like in Western countries, US, UK. So if you speak in English, you might make some money from it. So I would say if you start on YouTube, start as like a passion. Whatever you do, just share. Like at the end of the day, it's just like people are just gonna see it and they're gonna be like, hey, like you're doing that, cool. But a lot of people are afraid of like
and doing
yeah.
daily vlogs and do what you do. I see a lot of people do that.
Yep.
How they get started.
writing or you could share writing too. If you're really good at writing, you could share
There.
share whatever way.
Yeah. This is, I think someone contacted me a few weeks ago and they say, hey, I would love to start a podcast, but I don't feel comfortable talking in front of camera. And I was like, okay, what are you good at? And she said, I'm good at writing. I was like, then there you go.
Then-
Start a blog.
Yeah.
Right? Nowadays you can do so many things.
There's so many.
Right? You can do a blog if you're really good at
Definitely.
podcasting
Yeah.
and you're good at talking, then just talk, but don't have a video podcasting.
Yeah, you know how I started
Right.
my YouTube? I lived in St. Cloud, right? Which is like an hour from here, and it's like nothing's happening. Like right now, it's really good, but at that time, 18,
It's a small city. Yeah.
so it's a small city, and I was commuting here for a job, right? I was working at a nonprofit organization. I was commuting here, and I was like, you know what? Like the hour I'm driving, 2 hours I'm driving. What am I supposed to do? Sit in my car? So I started like recording.
I like that.
In my car.
Because all your videos at the beginning.
So my car, like maybe 20, 30 videos of my first YouTube is just in my car.
Exactly.
Having conversations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just sitting on the like talking about
Just
okay,
pressing record.
what is programming? What are you supposed to
While you're
do?
driving. Like I love that, man.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
while you're driving, and then I realized, it's really loud, and also it's dangerous to drive, and also maybe your
So you do
YouTube,
before and after.
your YouTube might be actually closed. It might be like shut down if you
They say
like
you're dangerous.
you're putting yourself in danger. So I stopped doing that. So I parked the car, and then I record like when I get out of work. I record it like 15, 20 minutes, and then I just upload it while I'm coming home.
See that? He didn't wait for.
So that's just you
so you
start.
didn't wait for a thumbnail. You
It
didn't
was
just-
iPhone.
You're putting it up.
It was
just
yeah.
put it out there.
It was
Getting the reps in.
iPhone. I think it was iPhone like 9, iPhone 8 when
See?
I started.
So you didn't care.
So just the iPhone, and that's it.
So like
Yeah.
Jamal said, it's that people have excuses. They actually think excuses is what actually it's not real.
You got to start somewhere.
Yes.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think like you said, you know what I mean? Just start somewhere.
That's
You gotta
true.
Start somewhere, and then you just progress. I think that's it. But if you never start, then that's the
You're
problem.
never gonna progress.
So Jamal, talk about one thing, especially in the Somali community or in the immigrant community. Talk about food in general. People, I see a lot of people try to, especially the younger generation nowadays, they try to get into diet and fitness and stuff like that. But the old generation are dying from diabetes and other food-related issues. Talk about the
I think,
education of that part.
It's it's because you have.
There's a whole different podcast for that
it
one,
is-
probably. Yeah.
I'm partnering up with a health institution right now. I can't talk about it yet, but one of the things I'm doing is like a video, educational, and also being to create recipes, and part of that is because, they're doing studies on there's like a high population of diabetes and hypertension that our community doesn't discuss, and a lot of these things are stemming from diets that are changing. Because of the food that we eat here is very different from the food that we grew up eating.
Back home, yeah.
And then the abundance of sugar and dextrose or sugar, all these things, because people technically think that just because they're at the store, these things might be safe to consume. You are in charge of your own health. And and a lot of the younger generation right now are coming to acknowledge that they're realizing this, things that I'm eating are really killing me, and when they wake up and they're coming to acknowledge that it is time, and they're unplugging themselves from this, because everywhere is chain foods, or me and him, me and Duran were earlier having a conversation about how the Hmong community moves, because they're immigrant group that been here longer than we have.
Right.
And I love the Hmong community, I grew up with them. We did, you remember back in the day.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So, but Hmong community is twice, if not as the size of the Somali community. And the second language, matter of fact, in Minnesota is Hmong.
Right. I've seen that all the time. I've seen
And,
English.
But one thing you'll see is have you ever seen Hmong shopping at Cup Foods?
Barely, no.
Rainbows,
Nope.
Target.
I've seen in their own stores.
Where
Some of
so
them.
this but then you go to any corner in our community and you see the Somali Ethiopian immigrants and so on. They're abundant in there.
Big chain stores.
Big chains.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like you can go to all the way in Apple Valley or Lakeville. You still see.
True.
So I think it is, getting the information out. Long ago, the Hmong community were like, listen, the food that we're eating here is going to kill us.
Wow.
And we can't rely on these people because, if, we have to rely on each other. So Hmong, the way they move is like a unit, So there's 12 last names.
Vang, Yang.
Vang,
I know them,
Vu,
yeah.
Sean, Kang.
Nugent or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
We went to school with them.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
So, so each family within that last name have a butcher who specializes in meat,
Wow.
a person who's a farmer from that family, a person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So, and they support each other. They go to like to this person.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And because they know that their food is going to be fresh, it's going to be healthy, it's not going to have any antibiotics, it's not their meat is going to be organic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we started. With like as like the halal food.
Halal foods. It was great.
It's like the Somali community. They don't, most of it they don't control.
Yeah.
The halal.
The halal food
input.
is like a shelf stable stuff mostly, but they don't offer like a fresh.
Yeah.
you
So
know.
it's coming from different countries all over, from different
Very much.
places.
It's like a shelf stable, and anytime you see shelf stable, anytime you consume anything, most of the shelf stable is going to be shelf stable in your body, because it's like there's
gonna stay-
preservatives and all these things, what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's why you get
Right.
all love handles. You're like, shit, man, I thought I ate, but then you didn't really eat nothing today.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It goes to the wrong places.
it goes to the wrong places, or like your body doesn't know what the fuck to do. Your body does not know what to do with these foreign foods.
We got
Yeah.
confused.
So it gets confused. Like, man, what am I gonna do to
I
this?
feel like I think we did like an experiment back in high school where we took like French fries, we put it in a bottle basically like and normal fries that we actually created like from like potatoes. Yeah. And then the one in potato in like 2-3 days it kind of decomposed and it
got
fell
bad,
apart.
yeah.
And then the one from McDonald's it stayed there for like over 30
Nice,
days.
golden.
Nice, clean,
Never changed.
exact the same.
So, and that's the
Wow.
bad, even though it's a potato, right? It's like it's so, they're using starch and other things to keep that potato nice and golden the way it is. You know what I mean? It's like it's not really an actual potato. It's like a ground potato. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And they use the starch to keep it. So it's like a cheat, right? And then the other thing that they have is like they own a company called All Beef. So they're saying that on their meat is gonna say it's all beef. The company's name is All Beef.
All beef.
You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
okay.
It's like 40%. What is it? 40% soy and 60% meat.
wow.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying?
But they
So it's
can't
like
say all beef. People believe it.
believe it because the company is owned by McDonald's name All Beef.
Wow.
Oh my god.
So cheat shit like cheat things like nature. But more people are waking up, right? I believe this is maybe another conversation, but we need to have a conversation about the human 2.0. We're fathers, we got kids, you know what I mean? And
Second
it's like
generations now.
the second generations right now, they're basically being plugged from everything that's organic. Everything they know is like either from shelves or drive-throughs or
Absolutely.
and like,
Yeah.
they have tablets, everything is like just man, it's like they're so disconnected from nature and what was organic and what is real,
Yeah.
And that is something to be mindful about.
No, that's true. That's true. Because if I think about it, my kids all they eat is
Yeah.
yeah.
cereal,
Fast food, cereal
stuff.
It's connected from, and that's on purpose though. It's not something coincidental. It is, a conversation that was brought up recently was like, why do we like pump, this amount of junk food out here? And then a professor got up, he was explaining that there's not enough good food.
That's true.
And he said if we stopped and said, okay, we're gonna,
You have to go out of your way to find the right
I mean,
food.
they did a study. That's called like the inner city, for example, Minneapolis. It's called the food desert,
Food
right?
desert,
It's really
yeah.
North side, for example, other places.
I
You're part really,
Mills,
yeah. I heard on NPR the other day, and I was like, wow, because they have to actually drive like 30 minutes
To get-
to find to a really good to a really.
And most people don't even
Yeah.
have a car.
So what they do is they're gonna go to the convenience store.
Yeah,
right.
it's right around
It's
the
right
corner.
off that has all kind
So
of
those
junk
are
food.
intentional too. The food deserts are intentionally created
There you go.
because it's like, okay, who do we want to give access to fresh food, and who do we want to give junk food options, like access to that?
Yeah.
Is it a socioeconomic kind of thing? Is it? I mean, we in America, right? You can talk about capitalistic
For sure. And
capitalism.
then, so one of the things we were talking about is why don't we like have that created? And then we learned that a lot of these companies have like they go by point system.
Oh,
If they build in a certain area, the demographic has to be in this and this, and they get certain point. But if they build in like somewhere like North Minneapolis and they were able to open up, they have the capacity, they have
right. That's what I was thinking.
but they lose points in their social, like they have a, what is it called, man? I'm forgetting. It's like a point system that these companies have,
Wow.
Because it's a kind of dangerous area or whatever it
all
is.
this stuff. So then it's gonna bring the brand down.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
So they have a lot of metrics to look
and
at.
investment. People who invested into the companies, they have power, they have say.
So
and
yeah, so
politics.
Jamal, you travel around the world. How's the food system different, let's say in Europe or let's say in Japan or let's say in Asia from America? Right?
Very,
And
very much
it's-
different. I mean, each society is controlled. That's why, like, when we land in the airports, they like take every fruit out, every vegetable out,
Yeah.
you're coming into this, like, it's a controlled,
True.
so we're gonna see what you're bringing into it. A lot of other places are not like that. You can bring fruits, vegetables, whatever, whatever you choose. I love like cultures where they still have like this social, like kind of like what Somalis have, like the social fabric of like we used to have land laws whereby if a family that was moving, where a caravan were to come to your nomad hut, you would give them your bed and you give them your all the milk and
Right.
just basically without asking them what
Welcome them.
Martisor, yep.
yeah, and then you don't ask
Yep.
them when you're leaving any of that stuff. You're basically right. So that hospitality that extends, it's like something that's like embedded in our culture. And I've seen over the 30 years, like I've been out here, like some of those cultural aspects sort of have been washed away by becoming like
Individualizing kind of system. Yeah.
for sure.
Right.
So one culture I saw was like Vietnam. You know what I mean? And they still have. There's a socialist country. You know what I mean? Or like very. But the people, it's man, how harmonious that culture is. And it is. First of all, you go over there with $1,000, you're a millionaire.
Right.
Vietnam,
So-
Also, they encourage like movement.
Yeah.
Movement,
So
yep.
early in the morning, right? So I'm a
Right, they wake
daytime
up.
guy. So
Yeah.
early in the morning, everybody's outside doing like some sort of movements.
Right.
And then the whole town is up by 6 a.m. It's vibrant. It's like fruits, vegetables, loud. It's like, and then all these people sort of interweaving each other. No one is yelling. No one is honking at each other. No one is like, because I lived in big cities. I lived in New York where millions
Right.
of people just into it. But
Yeah.
you see crazy things all the time.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
right there. You just have to look behind you. But it was so harmonious, and I loved every aspect of that and how people were considerate to one another. You would honk at somebody like, "Hey, I'm behind you," and it was just like a lot of
So
smiles.
so it's a way of life. Yeah.
It is a way of
Yeah.
to consider. So then I had conversed with a lot of people as well. The part of my travels that I got to learn is like I go and converse with locals, go eat with locals, go to these restaurants, go,
Right.
And one of the aspects is like, hey, like that is our culture to be able to be considered because every other Vietnamese person is a brother of mine extended, even the ones that live here.
Oh wow.
So they have that. It's like wow,
That's amazing.
and that is.
You have a
something-
lot to learn from.
I mean, we have a lot to sort of look back to our own culture. So now, as of recent, I've been doing a lot of reading and like sort of, because sometimes in order for you to go forward, you have to
Yeah.
So
Slow down a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And, we have that culture. We have that, and I think through the traumas and things that have been like sort of like all the movements, all the things that was happening last 30 years, sort of.
Yeah.
I've replaced that aspect of our culture, but we are.
No, we became this culture now, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
moving, we sit there 90% of the time.
Yeah.
We work at the desk, or we're at home all the time.
Yeah.
We don't exercise much.
I think people are realizing now, and like there's also like community efforts right now where like the government is funding for the elders to be taken out of their houses so they can move, they could go to social places,
Right.
and like this is like we understand like the families are like seeing like their mother is at home all the time or the child is home all the time. So there are like organizations and people that are trying to do exercises and moving and like this and that. But we live in Minnesota, like half of the year is winter, and it's that's what kind of like disturbs the whole thing. It's like the summertime is amazing. You could walk around. You could do. I walk all the time.
But in winter time, it's
Yeah,
pretty much
but the winter time, that's the challenge right now.
much.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
much.
Where like 6 months you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, you just,
So for the food, Jamal, that when you guys provide food to the students, for example, are you guys encouraging to eat greens and healthy stuff? Because I see still, even in my school, I still see pizza day.
yeah.
I still see them eating chicken here and there, nuggets in there.
It's a give and take, because you have to also, work with the students as well, what they want.
Yeah,
You can't always give them like, okay, this is what you should eat because it's healthy. You have to it's like a negotiation. Otherwise,
They're gonna starve.
they're not gonna eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
So so I still do serve pizzas and so on, but I have to also consider like, okay, what's in the pizza? The fact that I'm making scratch pizza, it's actually like,
Wow.
from wheat, whole wheat, whole grain. It's like it's a big plus because before we were not doing that. And being able to serve them halal foods, right? And also we just recently got USDA awarded us.
Wow.
Creating food that meets the school lunches and just basically re-innovating.
Congrats. Yeah, that's big.
That's a big
That's
deal.
amazing.
It is big.
The whole United States,
Wow.
Wow.
and it's not something that came easy because it's like
It's a long process, I'm
a long
assuming.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're, lucky to be in that, but also teaching the kids like because I'm giving them their vegetables as they are, like broccoli steamed, carrots, like nothing paste,
Yeah.
everything as they should be, and I'm like also sharing why these things are essential to them. Teaching them from young why eating your food like as if it was medicine is important. Otherwise, later you're gonna eat your medicine like if it was food. You know. So
That's true.
start right now.
Right.
If you eat this carrot, this improves your sight. If you know, and this are food. You know, my God. And then the other crazy part is the thing that eventually kills us is whatever we put through our food mouth too as well. So we really have to watch what we put through our, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
From young
So-
age.
Yeah. Go ahead. You have something
Yeah.
to add?
No, yeah, no. I'm saying like, yeah, you have to start at a young
At
age.
a young age, you have to
Yeah.
introduce him those kind of food, those
Introducing
kind
the
of
food-
green
the
stuff.
food, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
So I
with that.
think we're coming to almost to the end of the podcast. So one last, I would say, encourage words for the younger guys who are coming after you. For example, for Jamal, people who are coming after you who want to get into restaurants, chef. We still have the stigma of, you know, it's a woman kind of thing.
For sure.
Why are you behind the kitchen? That's woman kind of thing. It's not a man job kind of thing. And Duran, for example, for you, a lot of people want to get into IT, for example, but a lot of people don't have the skills, don't have the grit, don't have the really passion, go after it and really stick to it when it gets hard.
Yeah.
So Jamal, go ahead and first give us some.
First and foremost, I think, you know, it is like, even though we're living in the West right now, it's very unfortunate that there's not a lot of people going into this field. It is equally more giving than any other field. A lot of people ask me, "Hey, what about the incentive aspects of it? Like, how much money do you make?" And as a chef, I can tell you I make more than a doctor right now. My sister is a doctor, so literally, right? So
But to get there,
but
right?
to get there, you have to put your pebbles down. But I think that it is equally a successful career that you should look into. It's very much given, and it's a life skill. If you know how to cook and know about the science behind food,
It has a survival skill,
it's a
actually.
survival
Yeah,
skill,
you're right.
you know, and it's like, you know, and I'm here to, you know, I created the culinary school specifically to motivate
Right.
individuals from my community, and then unfortunately nobody was signing up.
Wow.
So I did 3 years back to back, and I was incentivizing. I was paying people to come to the school. I'll pay for your classes. I'll pay for your jackets. I'll pay for your knives.
Wow.
And I'll pay you an hour, $15 just to come and attend my school.
Wow.
And then other people took advantage of that, like non-Somalis. And they're all doing amazing, successful today. You know what I mean? I did that 3 years, but it's not giving if it's not like what I wanted to do, you know?
Right, right. Wow.
So it was for my community, but, you know, others benefited from it, and I just sort of passed on because it's like, you know.
It's the culture. I feel like I think
It's the same thing with you and I think Duran, right? When you
Yeah.
started the Gabby, the school, for example, you see a lot of people not doing the job. You give up. I used to teach IT back in the days. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
invited
yeah.
a few
I remember
times
your
in.
classes, yeah.
We did like, I think 4 cohorts or 5 cohorts.
Yeah.
We quit after that because people will come to the class
Yeah.
and like you say, 20, 30 people will start the class.
Yeah.
We would end with 3 people.
Yeah.
And then you try to reach out to them and say, hey, you came half of the class, what happened? And they're like, oh, I went back to my regular job. Or now I'm driving a truck or whatever. And that
Yeah.
discourages you, you know. And then we kind of stopped and we just said, you know what, we're going to go our own thing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is very discouraging.
Yeah,
It is
for me it's mostly just if I encourage people, it's just, you know, it has to be something you like doing, and the way to figure that out is doing it. You know, like you have to start doing something. I would say there's a lot of resources online these days. You don't have to wait for anyone to just kind of like try it out and see like what's out there. You know, in software engineering and programming, like you really don't have to do physical work.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, it's just like somebody tells you something online and you try it out and see if it helps you.
And also gender neutral. So
Gender
it could be
neutral,
for
yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
It could
I mean,
be-
it's
it could be for moms working.
yeah. I
moms
mean,
with
you can
kids.
work from home, you could do your own thing. So I would say like when it comes to like software engineering, one of the challenges was like, you know, people they have this idea that you have to be genius. You have to be like,
Right.
you have to start from a young age. You have to be like someone who was coding at like 16 years old or younger. But really, I've seen people who I've seen a guy that I worked with. His name's Abdi. He lives in Ohio. He was a truck driver, and he was he was a dispatcher.
Right.
And he was never like a tech person, and he just started going to my class, and eventually he graduated.
Made
And
it happen.
yeah, and now he's I'm not sure if he landed a job, but he was looking for a job.
Yeah.
So, and this guy, like it took him a while to kind of like get it, but he never gave up. That's one of the things that I've seen. Like it took him a while. It took him actually 2 classes to like come back and try it again. But one of the things he did was he never gave up. So I would say just kind of like try it out and see what's out there.
That's dope.
You could check my resources online. You could look for my name, Duran Ali, or you could just look for like programming, coding, software engineering, and you will see like tons of resources online. Especially these days, there's actually organizations that are doing it for free, and like they have like all these courses that are free.
Even universities.
Yeah,
are
Harvard,
giving it,
yeah,
right?
universities too.
I've seen that.
Harvard has a free class,
Yeah.
an online free class. It's called CS50, where you could just watch.
Certification.
Yeah, you could just watch the professor
Yeah.
with the students, and they record it in a professional way with the cameras and everything.
free.
And it's like the whole thing is free. And eventually, you just have to pay like maybe like $200 for a certificate,
Amazing.
and then that's it. So
Amazing.
if you feel like you don't have a lot of time, it's just the recording and everything's out there for you.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, Jamal, do you have a mentorship program, for example?
So
How can people get hold of you?
So I
if
do
they're
I just,
interested?
Wednesdays I do like I still do classes and stuff. Not culinary classes. I do like food safety classes, food systems and etc. And I do that for free for like
The community.
also only
Yeah.
for the community.
Nice.
So I do Wednesday
Nice.
afternoons from 1 to 5 p.m. and I hold it upstairs in my place. Yeah, so people should definitely like I offer food management classes, food certifications as well.
Nice.
For free. I'm not charging no one.
Wow.
Just come and
That's amazing.
That's really
sometimes
good.
I provide food too, so depending on
Cool. So, what are the best places people can get hold of you? Is it your socials?
yeah, so
Simple.
definitely through socials or otherwise my website joyousconsulting.com.
Nice. Yeah, we can link that to the description too.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. For me, social media, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and also my YouTube and my website, DURAANali.com too.
Everywhere.
good. So this will be in the
Everywhere, just-
description.
yeah,
so
yeah,
so
everywhere.
guys, go ahead and contact those two brothers. They are really good at what they do. Okay, that should be it for now. And thank you very much actually for listening to this episode. And I'll see you in the next one.